Welcome to another Lawn Fawn video. Today we are so excited because we are introducing our brand new interactive die Big Hugs pop-up. We are also going to be taking a look at our Big Hugs Ghost, which can be used on its own or also can be combined with the Big Hugs pop-up to create this awesome interactive card. And this is what the Big Hugs pop-up does. As you open it up, you get this amazing three-dimensional surprise of this super cute bear that is waving its arms. Of course, you can layer other characters on top too, like our Big Hugs Ghost. And these cards are so cute. They fold flat for mailing for standard postage. You can put it in a portrait card. You can put it in a square card. You can put it in a landscape card. There's so many different ways to decorate with it. This pop-up mechanism is so much fun, and I love that you can create cards for all sorts of different occasions and seasons too. And the other thing that I love is that you can use that super cute bear on its own as well. So it can be a pop-up or a super cute die cut on the front of your card, which is awesome. Then we have our Big Hugs Ghost, which layers on top of that pop-up mechanism and creates this super cute ghost. I mean, isn't this just so sweet? I love it so much. And of course, that ghost can be used on its own too, and I love that it has two uses. You can do fun things like stepping up your cards, bringing in your favorite die cuts or your favorite stamped images. I love that these cards are so easy and so much fun to make. So let's go ahead and check out exactly how to put one of these together. Here are all of the pieces that are included in the Big Hugs pop-up. You have your mechanism and your super cute bear. So this piece right here is the main pop-up mechanism. And then these are the things that you can decorate that mechanism with. So we have this super cute bear, little backers for the ears and the eyes and nose, a little cover for the snout, and little rosy cheeks that you can add onto the bear. We have a little belly, and then also the arms for the bear too. And then we have the feet, and then the backers for the detail of the feet too. First, we're going to start with our pop-up mechanism, which I've gone ahead and die cut here out of some craft cardstock. And you'll see that the mechanism not only cuts the shape, but it also embosses some score lines here that we're going to be folding against. And there are 5 horizontal lines. So we're going to fold along the top one here. And I like to use my bone folder to secure that and make it nice and sharp. Then we're going to work our way down the mechanism. So you'll see the next one is at the bottom of that kind of rounded shape. Then there's another one right below it, right there. We're going to fold along that one. And again, use our bone folder to make it a nice sharp crease. Then we have 2 more right down here. So we're going to fold right at those kind of arm pieces and then right below the arm pieces there. And again, we're going to use our bone folder to make sure all of those folds are nice and sharp. Now the next thing we need to do is work with those little diagonal folds there. And here you can see it on the mechanism that there's some diagonal folds right there and right there. And so we are going to be folding along those, and I'll give you some tips to do that. So here you can see those little fold lines there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my index fingers and I'm going to gently press right there kind of in the middle of the triangle. And as I do that, you'll start to see those lines start to fold, just like that. Then I can take my finger on the other side and again, just kind of fold it. You'll see I'll kind of use my thumb there to kind of help press those little diagonal folds in. And I'm doing this nice and slowly and gently so that I make sure it's folding right along those diagonal lines. Then you can continue to press in with your index fingers like this. And you'll see as you do that, those arms are going to naturally fold in. So you're going to keep pressing with your index fingers and you're going to see those arms fold and the whole thing is going to kind of collapse in on itself just like that and then look like that when you're done folding. So we're going to try that again so you can see. We're going to take our index fingers and we're going to press in at the points of those triangles just like this. And as you do that, those little arms are going to start to kind of press down and the whole mechanism is going to fold in and it's going to create a shape that looks just like this with the little arms tucked underneath. Next, we're going to be adding some adhesive underneath that score line. So I'm using a highlighter here just to show you exactly where we're going to put our nice, strong, double-sided tape. And so it's going to be right underneath that score line. There you can see on that piece that we just folded the arms in on. And so we're going to take out some double-sided tape here. I'm using the 1/4 inch size, and you want some nice strong tape here because this is going to be part of what holds your mechanism together as it opens and moves in your card. So I'm going to add 2 strips of that tape underneath that score line. And then before I remove that liner paper there, I'm just going to show you where we're going to fold. See where that indent is? This piece is going to fold up and attach to that adhesive. So now we can go ahead and peel up the liner paper on this piece. And then what we're going to be doing is folding right where those kind of indents are at that score line right there that we folded earlier. So you're just going to take this whole piece and we're just going to lift that up, and then we're gonna press down, and it's gonna be secure there on the adhesive that we just added. Then next, we are going to be adding some more adhesive. So we're going to add some adhesive to this tab here above that score line. So I'm just using my highlighter again to make it really clear where we need to add it. And we're going to use that nice strong tape there. And I like to make sure I have one right there next to that score line because that's going to really help secure it into your card. And then I'm going to add one more piece of that nice strong tape. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to flip over this entire mechanism and we're going to be adding some more tape to the back. So we're just going to flip that over and you're going to see that there's kind of this, I call it a mushroom kind of looking shape here. And we're going to be adding adhesive above that score line, right where I'm putting that green highlighter there. And so again, we're going to be using our nice strong double-sided tape because this is where it's going to adhere to your card base so that the mechanism can open up. Next, I'm going to take out a card base here. This is a standard size card base that's 5.5 by 4.25 inches. And here you can see it's a portrait style, but you can do landscape. You can also do a square too, which is really cool. And you'll see that this mechanism is going to go right into the inside fold of the card. It's going to butt right up against that fold. And so what we're going to do is flip our mechanism over and we're going to remove those adhesive strips that we added to the back of the mechanism. And then we're going to take this whole mechanism and we're going to flip it over and we're going to take that top tab and we are going to again kind of butt that right in against that fold just like that. And I like to keep the card kind of up a little bit so that it's really easy to feel exactly where that piece needs to be. You can see I'm kind of holding the back of our card base. We're making sure that's right in against that fold and then we're going to press down to secure it just like that. Then the next step is to remove the liner paper on the tab here. And so this is the part that's going to attach to the top part of the card base. And so we're going to remove those little liner pieces. And then all you need to do is just shut your card, right? Just like that. I love that there's no measuring or anything where to place this. It kind of tells you exactly where to place it in your card base. So we're going to shut our card and we're going to press down and make sure everything is nice and secure. And then this is my favorite part when you open it up and you get the little arms waving. I mean, look at that. Isn't that so cute? Ugh, it's just so much fun. So this is how you're going to put the pop-up mechanism together every single time, whether you're using the bear it comes with or the Big Hugs Ghost or any other fun Big Hugs characters that are going to come out in the future. You're always going to make the mechanism the same exact way, which I think is so cool. I've gone ahead and die cut the pieces for the super cute bear, and I decided to add a little bit of inking to these different colors of cardstock just to give them a little bit of interest, but of course it would look great as plain colored cardstock or also as pattern paper too, I think would be adorable. But here I'm taking some dough ink and I'm just adding a little bit onto the edges of the bear just to give him a little bit of shading. And I love doing this because I'm starting with the color of cardstock, but just adding a little bit of color. Now, for my pop-up mechanism, whenever I cut the mechanism, I always cut it out of the same color as whatever character I'm adding to it. So in this case, I'm adding a bear that's die cut out of craft cardstock, so I use craft cardstock for the mechanism. You can use pattern paper for the mechanism, you can use 80-pound cardstock for the mechanism, and you can use 100-pound cardstock for the mechanism. All of them work, which is really, really great. I've die cut the belly and the snout from some of our speckled eggshell cardstock, and I'm just adding a little bit of ballet slippers to each of these just to give them a little bit of pink. We're also going to be adding some pink to the backers for the ear too. And right now I am recreating a card by Callie, so thank you so much, Callie. Now it's time to put together the bear. So I've gone ahead and turned the bear over and I'm going to add some liquid glue around the eyes and the nose. And then this little oval shaped piece is the backer that's going to add the detail to the eyes and the nose. And there you can see how cute that is. And then for the ears, we're going to be adding some pink here. So I'm going to add some liquid glue to the back, and then you'll see these little kind of half oval shapes are going to layer right behind the ear, and that's what's going to add the detail to this part of the bear. There's a little embossed line around the nose that shows you exactly where to put the detail for the snout of the bear. Once you add that, I think he just looks so cute. And then we're going to add the little belly onto the bear. And of course, you could add these details or not, depending on what kind of bear you wanted to create. If you die cut this bear out of white cardstock, you could create a polar bear, which is super, super cute too. Next, I'm adding some liquid glue to the back of the feet, and then I'm adding this little oval-shaped piece to the back of the feet, and there you can see how cute that looks. I just think these little feet are so adorable. There's something just so sweet about them. And then these are the little rosy cheeks that you can add or not, and it looks super cute either way. I just love those little rosy cheeks too. So now that we have our bear put together, we're going to start adding him on to our mechanism. So here's the mechanism that we worked on earlier, and we're going to start with the body of the bear first. And I'm just going to add some tape runner to the back of this whole piece. And tape runner is enough to hold it onto the mechanism because this little part's just kind of going for a ride on the mechanism. Now, when I add my bear or my ghost to this pop-up or any other future character, what I like to do is I like to have the card closed just a little bit, just like that. And then I just take the bear and I kind of butt it right up against the edge of the card. And that helps the bear be in the right placement. So here you can see I'm going to kind of close it just a little bit, and then I'm going to butt the bear in, and then I'm going to press down and secure him in place. And now he is in perfect placement. Isn't that so cute? And then now it's time to add the arms onto the bear. So I'm just going to flip it over, add some tape runner to the back. And then what you're going to do is you're going to line up the top of the arm with the top of the arm of the mechanism. And then you're just going to shift it in until there's a natural stopping point there. And that's where you're going to adhere it down. So once you kind of hit the edge, then you can go ahead and just press down and secure it. Then we'll do the same thing with the other arm. So we're going to add some tape runner to that, and then we're going to go ahead and layer that onto the arm. Again, we're going to line it up where the top part of the arm is going to line up with the top part of the arm of the mechanism, and then we're just going to add it in until we hit that kind of natural stopping point, and then we'll press down to secure it. And now you have your super cute bear arms there ready to give you a big bear hug. I mean, I just can't help but smile every time I see this little guy. Okay, so now we have the feet, and we're just gonna add some tape runner on the back of those feet, and then you can just layer them right onto the body. So you'll see I like to do it kind of at a little bit of an angle, just like that, and you can see just how cute those feet look. Once I have them in place, I like to close the whole card and just press down to secure everything. And then, of course, I want to open it and just take a look at my super cute bear. Isn't that so much fun? I just love him so much. Now, I wanted to show you how this bear can be used on his own too. So that's what's so cute about this bear is that you can use him on the pop-up, or you can just use him on a cute card that isn't necessarily interactive. And you would do it the same way. You could layer your feet on, and then you can layer the little arms behind so that it looks like he's got his arms out in a big hug. Then the other thing you can do is you can also have his arms facing in, so he could like hold something cute like a little heart or a flower or something like that. And so to do that, what I like to do is I like to take the arm and I line it up exactly where I think it might look cute on the body, and then I just hold it in place and then use my scissors to just trim off the edge right along the edge of the bear so that the edge of the arm has that same curve, which I think looks so cute. And then of course we would repeat that on the other side. So I'm just going to go ahead and line it up with the bear and then just trim off the edge so that the edge of the arm has that folded edge and it looks like he's got his arms folded over his body and he can hold something, or he just looks super cute like that on cards too. Now that we have this super cute pop-up bear, I just had to turn it into a card. So I wanted to add some rosy cheeks, and the die-cut rosy cheeks are really cute, but I saw that Callie added these like little cheeks that almost looked like the bear was wearing blush, and I thought it was so cute. So I'm taking a little brush here, and I'm using my guava ink, and I just tapped it into the guava ink, tapped off any of the excess, and then I'm just going in almost as if it was makeup and just adding a little bit of a rosy cheek, and isn't that so cute? I love this. I'm gonna start doing this to like all of my cute little die cut characters. So I'm going to tap it in the guava ink, just take off any of the extra, and then just add it a little bit onto his cheek, and we're just doing his makeup today. It just looks adorable. And of course, I just had to go ahead and play with this mechanism again. Now, I thought the perfect sentiment for this card, since it is called the Big Hugs Pop-Up, would be to give it a hugs sentiment. And so in this video, we are also introducing our Scripty Hugs Outline add-on, which is an outline add-on for our previously released Scripty Hugs. And I love these outline add-ons that we've been coming out with because they have that nice little embossed detail that shows you exactly where to layer the die-cut word hugs on it, and it gives it this really cool shadow base. So I'm going to do the same thing here. We're going to be using the hugs and this fun little hugs outline. And I'm going to be die cutting it from some of the Rainbow Ever After paper, which has this really beautiful pastel rainbow. And then we're also going to be die cutting the word hugs out of some gold metallic cardstock. And I'll just add some liquid glue to the back of that word hugs and then layer it onto that gorgeous rainbow. Then we can add some adhesive to the back of the word hugs and layer it at the bottom. And that's the fun thing about using this in a portrait style, is that it's got this big space at the bottom where you can add a die cut sentiment or you could write your message. And of course, on a landscape style, then you have some space on the edges to decorate. And we'll show you some fun ways to do that in just a little bit. Now, when I make these pop-ups, I like to keep the front of my card a little bit more simple. And so we're going to die cut here a piece of white cardstock out of the largest of the stitched rectangles. It'll be 5.5 by 4.25. And then we're going to take our stitched rainbow dies and we're just going to die cut a rainbow shaped opening out of this piece. Then once we have that super cute stitched rainbow opening, I'm going to take that same striped rainbow paper that we used for the Scripty hugs, and we're going to be layering that behind. But before we do that, we're going to take this super cute Here For You bear, and we're going to stamp I'm Here For You at the bottom of this rainbow, and also stamp a cute little heart too. And that's one of the things I love about this bear is you could do hugs cards, you could do friendship cards, you can do that polar bear Christmas card, you could do birthday cards, you can do so many different cute things with this adorable bear. So now we've stamped that heart in that same guava ink that we used on the little rosy cheeks of the bear. And then we're going to add some tape runner to the back of this panel so that we can layer that beautiful striped rainbow there right on top. Now I think this is really cute like this, but I also really love the bear in this super cute stamp set, so we just had to add them on there. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp color and die cut this guy, and I'm going to add a little foam square to it and then layer that right on to this rainbow piece. And isn't that so cute? It's just adorable. Then we can take this whole panel and we're just going to add some tape runner to the front of the card base that has the pop-up mechanism in it, and then we can layer that whole panel on top. And now my card is all done and it is so cute. Look at that surprise. Look how cool. It's so three-dimensional and the little moving arms just make me smile so much. And I think this card would make anybody smile in the mail. It's going to be such a surprise when they open it up and see this fun three-dimensional smiling little bear waving his arms at them. Now it's time to take a look at our Big Hugs ghost. I love this little cute ghost so much. It comes with, of course, the ghost and also the cute little kind of wings or arms that you can add onto him, a fun little bow tie or hair bow, and also some rosy cheeks too. This Big Hugs ghost is designed to work on its own, and it's also designed to work with the Big Hugs pop-up. So all you need is the mechanism from the Big Hugs pop-up to create a pop-up ghost, which I think is so cool. The other thing that's kind of neat is this little eye backer piece that works with the bear. It actually also works with the ghost too, which is pretty cool. So you can die cut a piece of black licorice cardstock with that, or you could also just use your scissors and trim a piece that can layer behind the eyes. So either way works, which is really great. To create your ghost, you can just add some liquid glue here to the back of the ghost around the eyes and mouth, and then we're going to take either your trimmed down piece of black licorice cardstock or one die cut with this little backer that comes in the Big Hugs pop-up, and then we're just going to layer that behind, and that's going to add the detail to the eyes and the mouth. That little tiny rounded rectangle goes in the center of the bow to make it look kind of like the knot of the bow in the center. And so we're just going to layer that onto this little bow here. And then those are the little rosy cheeks that you can add to the ghost or not. I love that the ghost is really cute with or without his little arms, which is really fun. And of course, you can use this ghost on your card fronts. You could layer the arms behind, which is really adorable. And then you can take that cute little bow and you can use it as a bow tie, or you can also use it as a hair bow too, which I think is really adorable. Now, just like with the bear, you can have his arms going out that way, or you can also have them going in and they could hold like a little pumpkin or something, which is really cute. And so just like the bear, we're just going to layer the arms onto the ghost. And then I just like to trim it so that it matches the curve of the ghost. You could also just layer them on without doing that. And I think it looks really cute too, but I think this looks really nice. So I'm going to layer that on. And then I'm just going to go ahead and use my scissors and just trim off any of the excess so that there's a little rounded edge to the arms. And now the arms can fold in and hold something, which I think is a really cute look. I also love that the bear and the ghost look really cute on either portrait or landscape cards. They're sized to work both directions, which is really great. And here's another little look at him with his arms out and his cute little bow tie. Now, one of the things that I love to do with this ghost is use either a light blue or a light blue-green marker and just add a little bit of detail. So I've die cut him out of some white cardstock, and I'm just adding a little bit of this blue line here on the little cut details on the ghost and also along the outside edge of the ghost. And then you can blend it out with a colorless blender or an even lighter blue marker, and I just think it looks so cool. It kind of adds this three-dimensional kind of spooky effect that I think looks really awesome with the ghost. I also really like die cutting him out of some pixie dust cardstock, which is a white sparkle cardstock. So now it's time to make a pop-up ghost. So we're going to take out this mechanism that comes in the Big Hugs pop-up die. And again, just like before, we are going to be folding along those 5 horizontal score lines that the die creates for us. And I'm going to make sure to use my bone folder to have all be really nice sharp creases. Once all 5 of those have been folded, we're going to go ahead and work with those diagonal lines, which you can see on the die right here. And so just like before, we're going to take our index fingers and we're going to push towards the kind of point of the triangle. And as you do that, you'll see that it starts to naturally just kind of fold those lines and those arms start to tuck under. We're going to keep pressing in towards the center of those triangles and you'll see the whole thing kind of folds down and those little arms get tucked underneath and you get a shape that looks just like this. So we're going to try that one more time. I'm going to take my index fingers, I'm going to push in. You'll see the arms start to fold underneath naturally and the die just does it for you as you push in on those folds. And here I'm using a highlighter again to mark where we're going to be putting our nice strong double-sided tape, which is below that score line on that piece where the little arms are folded underneath. Then we're going to peel up the liner paper on both of those pieces and we're going to be folding up right at that kind of indent right there. We're going to fold this piece up and we're going to press down to secure it in place. The next thing that we need to do is add some adhesive onto that little tab above that score line there. So I'm using a highlighter again to show where we're going to add our nice strong double-sided tape. And I always make sure to add a piece right there, right next to that fold line of the tab, and then one more piece a little bit further down. And then we're going to take the whole mechanism and we're going to flip it over and we're going to add some more adhesive to the back. I'm going to use a highlighter again to show you where above that score line there and all along this piece that kind of looks like the shape of a mushroom. Next, I'm going to bring in a card base. This time it's going to be a landscape card base, and I've actually just created one out of pattern paper, which I think is a really fun look. And so that's 5.5 by 4.25, and my piece is going to go right into the fold, just like we did before. Now, I wanted to show you a little trick I do in case you're a really particular person like I am. I'm not the best at eyeballing, but I like things to be centered. So I'm just using my ruler here. I'm going to make a little mark in the center, and that's going to help me line up my mechanism. Then I'm going to take the mechanism and flip it over, and we're going to remove the liner paper on that piece that kind of looks like a mushroom. And then we're going to take our mechanism, flip it over, and we are going to line up that tab in the fold of the card. So I'm butting up that top of the mechanism right into the fold of the card. I'm using my little pencil line to help me line it up in the center, and then I'm just going to press down to secure it in place. Then we can go ahead and remove the liner paper on the tab, the last of our adhesive here. And once we remove those, all we need to do is close our card flat and then press down really well just to make sure everything is nice and secure. And then open your card and you get the fun surprise of those little arms moving. I mean, look at that. It's just so cute. Next, we're going to bring in our Big Hugs ghost. I'm going to add some tape runner to the back of the ghost. And then just like we did with the body of the bear, we're going to line up the ghost here. I'm going to kind of fold the card just a little bit, kind of have that angle of the fold there. And I'm going to press the ghost up against the edge of the card base, just like that. And then I just close the whole thing and press down to secure it. And that's going to put your ghost in perfect placement. Then next, we're going to add the ghost arms. Now you'll notice these arms are a little bit bigger than our bear arms. We're only going to be putting adhesive on the back at the very top because the rest of the arms are going to kind of hang down below the mechanism. So I just put some highlighter there to show you where our adhesive is going to go, but we're just going to add a strip of tape runner just to the top of the ghost arm on the back of them. And then just like we did with the bear arms, we're going to line up the top of the ghost arm with the top of the mechanism, and then we're going to push until you hit a stopping point and then press down to secure it. Again, we're going to line up the top of the arm with the top of the arm of the mechanism, and then we're going to kind of push it in until we hit a stopping point, and then we're just going to press down to secure it, and then you can test it to see that it works. And look at that, the ghost, it just makes me smile. Now here's that cute little bow that we made earlier, and I'm going to add it like a little bow tie onto this ghost, which I think is just absolutely adorable. There's something about once you add the bow tie that I just can't with how adorable this is. It's just so cute. Then the next thing that I wanted to do was add those cute little rosy cheeks on there. So I've die cut them out of some blush cardstock and we're just going to layer those on and I think it makes it look even cuter. Now, this next little step here is not something that you have to do, but I think it looks really nice with the ghost. So here you can see on our bear that we created, the bottom part of the mechanism is essentially the bum of the bear. So it makes sense because it's kind of like his bum and he's sitting there and then going for a big hug. But a ghost doesn't really have a bum, at least I don't think so. So I want him to be more like floating in the air. So this is a fun way to make your mechanism kind of blend in to whatever your card base is. So I'm going to die cut our mechanism there out of the same pattern paper that I've used for my card base. And then what I'm gonna do is just fold along those little fold lines here for that piece that's kind of like the bum of the character, whichever character, the bear or the ghost. And then I'm just gonna use my scissors to just trim along those fold lines. And then this is gonna give you a piece that you can layer over your mechanism to help blend your mechanism into the scene if you want to. And so this is a fun way to do that. And so then all we need to do is just add some tape runner to the back of this piece, and then we can just layer it over that piece there, and that's gonna help blend it in to your card base. I really like using pattern paper as the card base for these cards because you have such a cute pattern on the inside, and then if you use the 12 by 12 paper, you get the fun pattern on the outside too. So it just kind of helps make the card for you, which I think is really awesome. So now we're gonna layer this piece right onto that mechanism, and now you can see it just kind of helps it blend into the card, which I think just looks really nice. Now for the front of this card, I wanted to keep it nice and simple. So I have a piece of white cardstock here that I think is about like 2 or 2¼ inches. And then I've die cut our Happy Halloween die here out of some black sparkle cardstock. And I'm just gonna layer this piece of white cardstock to kind of match my white ghost on the inside of the card onto this front. And then we can just add some liquid glue to our Happy Halloween and then layer that on the front. I like to use large die cut sentiments a lot of times for these cards because the big surprise is really the inside. So I like to keep the outside a little bit more simple. And I think this looks so cute. It's already adorable just as it is. And then when the recipient gets it and they open up the card, they're just going to be so wowed. Look at that. It's just so cute. I hope you guys are smiling too. I just think it's so adorable. And I love just how easy these are to make too. Now, something that I love about this die is whether you use plain colors of cardstock and make your cards a little bit more simple, they still look absolutely amazing. But you can also do fun techniques and step it up with inking or your favorite stamps and die cuts, etc. And that's what we're going to be doing with this bear here now. So I've gone ahead and die cut all the pieces for the bear, but I've die cut them all out of white cardstock so that I can add color with inking. And I'm starting with some Distress Oxide inks here, and I'm using some antique linen, and I'm just layering it all over all of the pieces for this bear. Then I'm going to come in with some darker browns. I started off with brushed corduroy because I thought of Corduroy the bear and it seemed like it would be a good match for this super cute bear. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring in some walnut stain to just make him a little bit of a darker brown bear. And I love how the inking looks, and I love that even if you add inking to these pieces, they're still going to work great in the mechanism. Now, I had die cut the mechanism out of white cardstock. I should have just die cut it out of brown cardstock, but I forgot to do that and I had my ink out, so I thought, you know what, why not? And I decided to ink up the mechanism too so that it blends in with my bear, because I always like to die cut my my mechanism out of the same colors of cardstock. So in this case, I've just inked up white cardstock for both of these. I'm also going to ink up these cute little ears here with some spun sugar ink, and I'm going to be inking up the backer for the eyes with some black soot ink. That way everything is inked with the same kinds of ink, so it all really matches nicely together. Now we can start to put our bear together just as we have before. So I'm adding some liquid glue to the back around the ears and the eyes and the mouth. We're going to add the backers for the ears, and then I'm going to add the backer behind the eye and the nose. Then we can layer on that cute little snout, which just looks adorable. And then we can start to add the belly onto the bear too. And I just love seeing him start to form. Next, we're going to add some liquid glue to the back of the foot and then layer the base of the foot on. That's going to add in those details. And now we have all of our cute little bear pieces all done. Next, I'm going to take out a landscape card base. This one is 5½ by 4¼ and I'm going to be using some of our brand new paper. This is the Stripes and Sprinkles Autumn, and it has this beautiful navy I just love with these cute little dots. And so I went ahead and trimmed down some pieces here so that there be a nice little white 1/8" border on them. So they're 5¼ inches by 4, and I'm going to be layering them on the outside of the card and also on the inside of the card too. And I think this is a really fun look with this cute mechanism. We've done our plain plain white cardstock. We've done some awesome pattern paper as the whole card base, and now I'm layering some pattern paper on the inside and the outside, which I think is a really, really cute look too. Now, since this is my stepped up bear card, I thought it would be really cute to give him some grass to sit in. So I've die cut a piece of white cardstock here, and I've used my Grassy border die. And I'm going to ink this up with Twisted Citron Distress Oxide ink and then Mowed Lawn. I'm doing everything in these oxide inks so that everything matches really well. And these two together is like just the perfect grass combo. I think it's so bright and gorgeous. Then for some texture, I'm just going to take my spray bottle and I'm going to spray some water onto the grass and then just pick up any of the extra with my paper towel, and then we'll set that aside to dry. Then once it's dry, we can go ahead and add some tape runner to the back, and then I'm just going to layer that into my scene. And I've cut it to be the same size as the pattern paper. And what's really cool is that you can layer the mechanism over grass or hills or anything that you want to add onto your base. Now here is that mechanism that we inked up earlier, and I'm going to go ahead and fold along all of those same 5 score lines just like we've done before. Then we're going to work on those diagonal score lines. And so just like before, we're going to press in with our index finger so that it helps fold those little diagonal folds. And then as we continue to press in with our index fingers, those little arms are going to kind of tuck underneath and the whole mechanism is going to fold into perfect placement just like that. And then I'll just use my bone folder to make those creases nice and sharp. Then next we're going to take our nice strong tape and we're going to add 2 strips of that tape below that score line there right onto this piece. Then we can go ahead and peel up that liner paper and then we're going to fold the mechanism up and secure it in place. Then we're going to add our nice strong tape above that score line onto that tab at the top of the mechanism. And then we can flip the mechanism over and we're going to add some more of this tape above that fold line onto that kind of mushroom shaped piece there. Then we can remove the liner paper on the back of this mechanism and we're going to be adding it into our card base. So we're going to take that top tab there and it's going to butt into the fold of the card and then we're going to press down to secure it. And I love that you can add this mechanism into pattern paper card base, into a cardstock card base, or even into a card base like this where we've layered pattern paper on cardstock and then a grass die cut too. All of it works with the mechanism, which is so awesome because it gives you a ton of design choices. Now next we are going to peel up the liner paper on that top tab, and then we're just going to press down our card to secure it in place, and then you can open it up, and now we have our cool mechanism, and it's sitting in some grass, which I think is just so cute. Now here we have that bear that we inked and created earlier, and we're going to add some tape runner to the back of him and then just layer him onto the mechanism. Again, we're kind of folding that card closed just a little bit, pressing the bear in place, and then closing the whole card to secure the bear in perfect placement. And then we'll do the same thing with the arms. So we're going to add some tape runner on the arms and we're going to line up the top of the arms with the top of the arm of the mechanism and then just add it in until you hit that edge and press down. And then we'll repeat the same thing with his other arm, just lining it up with the mechanism and layering that on there. And you'll see that once you add the arms on to whatever character you're creating, this mechanism goes so smoothly. It works so well. It's just so cute. So now we've layered those arms on there, and now you can see our super cute bear coming in for a hug. Now next we're going to add our cute little feet on there, and I wanted to show you something that might happen. If you put your feet too far apart, when you go to close the arms, you might actually have the arms not work, and that's because your bear's feet are a little bit too far apart. So all you need to do is just move them in. I like using tape runner for this because it gives me a chance to kind of move my pieces into perfect placement. And so now I can just move the little feet again, and now my arms close. So just in case you put your feet too far out and your bear didn't close, that's why. Just shift those feet in just a little bit. Now here, we're going to be taking out our big blossom dies, and we're going to do this really cute "If friends were flowers, I'd pick you" theme with this bear. And so I'm going to ink up all of these pieces with the same colors that we use for the grass, that Twisted Citron and Mowed Lawn. And then for the flower tops, I'm going to be using some mustard seed and then some spice marmalade at the very top to get this fun little gradient, so they kind of look like black-eyed Susans. And then we'll just add some brown ink to those little flower centers. Then we can start to build our big blossom flowers. So I'm going to add a drop of liquid glue to the centers of the flowers and then layer those little center details right on top. And then you'll see the stems have this little half circle. We're going to add some liquid glue onto those, and then we can layer each flower on top of the stems. Then I'm going to add some tape runner to the back of the flowers and start to layer them in the scene. And I love that about this pop-up that you can layer die cuts or stamped images all around them. I always like to do it with some tape runner so that it's nice and flat so my bear can move freely. And I think it looks so cute that you can build up these adorable scenes around the bear or the ghost. The second my son saw this really fun pop-up, he just knew that that bear needed to hold something and then kind of present it as he moves his arms, which I thought was such a cute idea too. So these are all the Build-A-Critter costumes, and there's this cute little flower in it, but you could shop your stash for a flower or a heart or even use some stamped and die-cut images. And so I decided to take this little flower that comes from the spring accessories just because it was something I had on my desk, and I'm just adding some color with my markers in similar colors of the ink so that they match because I had already put my inks away, so I thought I'll just use my markers. I'm gonna layer some glue on the back of that flower and then layer that onto the base. And then I wanted it to be little leaves, so I'm actually just gonna take out my scissors and just trim the leaves off of the stem so that I can layer the leaves behind the flower. Then I'm going to add some tape runner to the back of this whole cute little flower and leaf thing, and we're going to be adding it onto the paw. And I wanted to show you that if you put it in the wrong place first, that's okay. We're just using tape runner so we can kind of try guiding it. So here you can see I kind of put it a little bit too far up, and you can see it's getting caught. So I thought, okay, I just need to shift it down just a little bit. It kind of needs to match the arc of the paw, and then look at that. It's that easy. So just add your little die cut on and then just kind of shift it until it's in perfect place. Once you see that it can move with a paw, you can press down and secure it. And how cute is that? Next, we're going to work on the front of the card, and we're going to be using Scripty Friends here. I die cut it out of some white cardstock, and I'm going to ink it up with the same browns that we inked up the bear with. That way, the friends that's going to be on the front of the card is going to match the bear on the inside. Then I've gone ahead and die cut the outline for the Scripty Friends out of some speckled eggshell cardstock, and I'm just going to add some liquid glue to the Scripty Friends and then layer that on top so that it has a nice bold look on my card. The rest of my sentiment, I'm going to be using the Mice Flower stamp set. And in that stamp set, it has a phrase that if friends were flowers, I'd pick you. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. And I'm going to die cut 3 little wavy banners because I'm going to stamp different parts of each phrase. So here you can see I'm selectively inking up the word if, and I'm skipping the word friend since we have the die cut friends. And I love doing this, mixing a stamped sentiment with a die cut sentiment. So there I'm going to stamp the word if, and I've got friends die cut. Next, I'm going to do were flowers for the next banner, because the I'd Pick You is going to be on the inside. So then we're going to stamp each of these in dough ink, and then I'm going to stamp the I'd Pick You. And you'll see I'm just curving each of these stamps just a little bit to match the curve of the banner, which I think makes them look so cute. I want to layer the word if behind friends there, so I'm just going to use my scissors to trim off the rest of this banner here. I can always save the rest of that banner for another part on another card. And I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of the word friends and then layer that right on to this piece so that they all kind of flow together in such a cute way. And then we can add some foam squares to the back of this and then layer that onto the card front. And I really like doing these fun sentiment card fronts so that when you open it, you get like the fun excitement of the pop-up on the inside, but you have the sentiment on the front, which I think is super cute. Here, I'm just going to trim off the edge of the part that says we're flowers, and we're going to add that on with some foam squares as well, just to give it a nice pop. And then I'm going to take that last daisy that we inked up earlier, and I'm going to layer that onto the front of the card because it gives a little hint as to what might be happening on the inside of the card. I can just trim off the extra part of the stem, and then I'm going to layer that as if the flower is growing out of that banner, which I think looks so cute. Then we can open up our card, take a look at our super cute bear again, and then I'm going to finish up the rest of the sentiment on the inside with the I'd Pick You, and it looks like he picked a flower. It's just so cute. It just makes me smile. And so I'm just going to layer that little banner right into the card, and I just think this is looking so cute, and I had so much fun making it. And look, when you open up the card, he's got the little flower in his paw. I think the front is so cute, and I love that it looks a lot like what the inside of the card's going to be like, so it's a little hint, and then when you open it, you get this awesome surprise of this bear picking a flower just for you. I mean, it's just so sweet and so cute. So now that we've done a fun stepped up inky version of the pop-up with the bear on it, we're going to do a fun inky version of the pop-up with the ghost on it. So I've created a standard size card base. It's 5.5 by 4.25 out of some algae cardstock, and I'm going to ink up the edges of the inside and the outside of this cardstock. I'm starting with some peeled paint distress oxide, and then I'm coming in with some black soot, which is what really gives it that fun, spooky Halloween feel. Then once I cover all of the edges with the black soot, I come back in with the peeled paint distress ink because it kind of softens the edges of the black and helps it kind of blend into the green of the cardstock in the center. And I really like doing this, and when it's spooky like this, the more uneven it is, the better. I think it looks so cool. Next, we're going to die cut the mechanism from the Big Hugs pop-up out of some white cardstock to match our white ghost that we're going to be adding into this fun Halloween card. And we're going to fold along those 5 horizontal lines just like we've done before, and we'll use our bone folder to make sure every one of those folds is nice and crisp. Next, we're going to work on the diagonal lines that the die creates for us right there, and we're going to take our index finger and just push in towards the top of that triangle. And as you push in, you'll see those little fold lines start to form. I like to move really slowly at first, and then you can go ahead and press into each of those triangles and then fold it down. You'll see the arms naturally kind of tuck underneath and create this really cool shape right here. And then I like to use my bone folder just to make sure all of those folds are nice and sharp. Then we're going to add our nice 1/4 inch double-sided tape underneath that fold line right here, and I like to add 2 pieces. Then we can peel up the liner paper on both of those pieces of adhesive, and then we're going to fold where that little indent is right up and press down to secure it. Once we've secured that in place, we can start to add adhesive to the rest of the areas of this mechanism. So we're going to add some adhesive onto that top tab right above that fold line using some nice strong 1/4 inch double-sided tape. Then we can flip the whole mechanism over, and we're going to be adding some tape above that fold line there onto that shape that kind of looks like a mushroom. Then we can go ahead and peel up the liner paper on the back of this whole mechanism, and then we're going to bring back our card base that we inked up earlier, and we're going to flip this over, and then we're just going to take that upper tab and we're going to butt that right up against the fold of the card, just like this. I like to kind of hold the card base up a little bit and just butt it right up into the fold. Once I feel that in place, I can go ahead and press down and secure it. Then the next step is to peel up the liner paper on that top tab. And then once you've done that, all you need to do is close your card, press down, and then when you open it up, you get the fun surprise of this really cool pop-up mechanism. Now that our mechanism's all ready, it's time to work with Big Hugs Ghost. I just love this little ghost so much, and I have die cut him from some pixie dust sparkle cardstock. I've also die cut the cute little rosy cheeks there, and also the little eye backer that comes in the Big Hugs pop-up. I've die cut that out of some white cardstock too, and I had my black soot distress ink right here on the table from inking up my card base earlier, so I'm just going to ink up this piece here that's going to go behind the eyes, and then for those little rosy cheeks, I just added some color with my markers. Then we can just flip over our ghost, and we're going to add some liquid glue around the eyes and mouth, and then we can layer the backer right behind them. And then we can add those rosy cheeks too. Then once our ghost is all ready, we can start to add him on to the pop-up. So what we need to do is add some tape runner behind the ghost, and then we're going to layer that onto our pop-up mechanism. And when we do that, I like to have the card close just a little bit. I take the top of the ghost or the bear and I butt it up against the edge of the card, and then I just press down and close the card to secure it in place. And when you open it up, you'll have your ghost in perfect placement. And then for those little wings or arms, we're just going to add a line of tape runner at the very top of the arms. Then we'll line up the top of the wing there with the top of the mechanism, and then just press down to secure that in place. And we'll do the same thing with the other one. So the top of the arm or wing is lining up with the top of the mechanism arm. And then we're just going to press down to secure that in place. Then for that little bottom piece there, on the bear, I like to leave it because it's kind of like his bum. But the ghost, I feel like he should be kind of floating in the air. So I want to cover up that piece to help blend it in to my card. You don't have to do this, but it's just one of those little extra things that I like to do. And so I die cut the part of the mechanism that includes that little area out of that same algae cardstock. And then I'm just going to trim off that little piece. And I'm also going to ink it up with a little bit of that black soot ink just so that it blends in with the rest of the card base. And then we can add some adhesive to the back and layer that right over, and now it's all blended in so that the ghost looks like he's floating over the card base. Next, we're going to add a ground. For the bear, we added grass that went up higher and the mechanism went over top of it. And this time I'm just gonna add a little ground here right underneath the mechanism, just like this, and both ways look really cool. And so this is just gonna be kind of like a little desk that I'm imagining is like a spooky desk with potions and all sorts of cool things, and the ghost is gonna be floating above it. And so here I'm gonna take out our brand new Build a Potion dies, and I'm gonna be adding color to all of these die cuts using these markers here, which I thought was a really fun, spooky color combo. And this is one of my favorite ways to add color to die cuts. I like ink blending them, and then I also like using my markers. I just think it's so fun, and I use a really scribbly motion, and I just go over it in dark and light colors or dark, medium, and light, and then blend them together. And now we're gonna start to build this cute little potion bottle. So we're gonna add the cork to the top of the potion bottle, and then we're gonna layer the frame over the base, and then we can add in those cute little bubbles and sparkles too. I'm gonna add in some dots with my marker just to make the potion look even more bubbly, and then we can layer the little frame over that gem piece, which I think looks so cool. Then to add some more fun spooky things, I thought some books would be awesome. So these are the book collection books, and we're gonna add some color using our markers too. Again, doing dark, medium, and light, and just blending it out with a really scribbly motion so that they kind of have those uneven edges that make them look like really old books. And then we can use some liquid glue to layer all of these pieces. So we'll layer one to fill in the details of that other book, and then we'll layer the little hard covers over the pages of the other books. Now here are our Build-A-Critter costumes, and in the Halloween costumes, there's this cute tiny little pumpkin, and there's also a Halloween bucket, which is so cute. And then I used our scallop treat box, has a cute little spider and spiderweb. Again, I just went shopping in my stash for cute looking Halloween things. I added some color with my markers, and now I'm layering these pieces together to have some more things to add into my little spooky room that my ghost is flying about in. And then now I can start to add everything, and I love this part. It almost feels like I'm decorating like a little dollhouse. So I'm gonna make some stacks of books. We're gonna add our potion on top. We'll add some other books on the other side, and I just love using all these die cuts together and giving them a spooky feel with these fun kind of like moody Halloween colors. I think it's adorable. And then adding the little pumpkin and the spider web, I think really help bring it into Halloween as well. And so we're gonna add this cute little spider there right on top of the pumpkin, which I think looks adorable. And then to fill in the area on the right side, I decided to add some more of those little sparkles that were inside of the potion bottle because it feels just kind of magical. Next, we need to work on the front of the card. And because I have this awesome design on the inside, I wanted the front to be really clean and simple. So I'm going to be using the giant Hocus Pocus die. I love this die so much. And I've die cut it out of white cardstock and also some of that black sparkle that we used on the inside of the card. And I layered them and then shifted the black sparkle one over to the right just a little bit to give that really cool shadow look. And then I'm going to add that to the center of the card kind of at an angle because I think that looks really cool. Then we have all of these fun new tiny treasures, and there's these really, really pretty purple stars that are kind of sparkly. I just think they're gorgeous. And so we're going to layer some of these around the word Hocus Pocus just to add a little sparkle to the outside of the card too. Once I have those in a placement that I like, I'm just going to pick up each one with my pick up pokey tool and add a little drop of glue and then layer them back down. And now look how pretty that is. I love the sparkle that it adds. It feels so magical on the front of the card. And then when you open it up, I mean, look at this smiling ghost. I'm smiling along with him. It's just so cute and so fun. I love how adorable this ghost is. I love that you can even cut him out of sparkle cardstock and it still works on the mechanism. And this is such a fun Halloween card, sure to make anyone smile. Now, speaking of stepped up cards, I wanted to share a card that my son Miles made, and this I thought turned out so cute. Look at his bear, isn't he adorable? And he even gave him a little stamped flower to hold, I think is so sweet. The front says hugs, and it's so sparkly. And then when he opens it up, he stamped a custom sentiment with an alphabet set that says hugs make everyone smile, and they sure do. This card makes me smile too. Now that we've made 4 different awesome pop-ups, I wanted to show you how awesome the bear and the ghost work on their own without the pop-up. And when we designed this interactive die, we wanted to make sure that you could make a pop-up with it and you could make a standard card with it. And I think that's so awesome. So with the Big Hugs pop-up, you get the super cute bear, which you can use with the pop-up. or on its own. And then Big Hug's Ghost works on his own, but can also work with the pop-up. And we will have other Big Hug characters coming out in the future that are going to do the same thing. They're going to work on their own and work with this awesome Big Hugs pop-up, which I think is so cool. And so just like we've done before, I've started with a craft bear. I've added a little inking with some ink to the edges of him just to give him a little bit of extra dimension. And then I've gone ahead and layered the backers for the ears and the eyes and the nose, and we've added the snout on and the rosy cheeks and the belly. And now I'm gonna have the arms going in. So I'm layering the arm on the bear and then just trimming off the little bit of excess of that arm. And you can see how you can have one going in and one going out, which I think looks so super cute. And then I'm gonna use my white gel pen to add some fun little white gel pen details to him. I feel like it really helps him pop. And so I'm just adding little lines and dots around all of the curves of all of the different parts of the bear, and he is just gonna look adorable. Now, this is a recreation of a card by Tammy that blew me away when I saw it, and she made a honey jar for the bear. Is that not too cute? So we're gonna die cut the mason jar and also the honey and jam add-on for the Build a Drink mason jar, and we're gonna be inking these up with some inks. And so I'm using scattered straw and also some wild honey, of course, because it's in the name, and then we're just gonna be inking that onto these pieces. I'm also going to use the big blossom flowers, which we actually used in the other bear pop-up that we did with the If Friends Were Flowers, I'd Pick You theme. So they were on my desk and I thought these are going to be so cute around this bear with the honey jar. And so I'm actually just using whatever was left on my brush there with the yellow, and I'm just inking the very bottom of these petals, and I think that looks so pretty. I'm also adding some color to the flower centers and also to those little drips of honey that's part of that jam and honey mason jar add-on, and I think they're gonna look so cute on this card. Then for my stems and leaves, I decided to just use my markers. Again, I kind of like to use just what's out on my desk, and they happen to be out on my desk. And that little marker combo I think is so pretty. That YG01, that bright lime green on them just looks amazing. Then we're going to add some liquid glue to the center of the flowers. We'll layer the centers in, and then we'll layer the flowers onto the stems, which they are just looking so cute already. And then because we added some white gel pen details to the bear, I'm going to go ahead and add some white gel pen details to all of these little flower elements. Then we also have this cute little label that's again a part of that jam and honey jar. And this is our jam and honey sentiments. And so we're going to stamp the word honey on the label. That way we can layer it onto our jar. Then we can add some liquid glue to the frame of the jar and layer that onto the base. We can add the little string and the little jar topper we've die cut out of some gingham paper, which is just so cute. I just love that look so much. And I'm going to add some foam squares to the back of the label and then some adhesive to the fabric over the top of the jar. And then we have the little honey goo onto the honey dipper, which is so fun. And then we'll take our white gel pen and just add some fun white gel pen details that really help everything pop. Next, I have die cut some grass here from our Grassy border die, and I'm going to be using some Twisted Citron and some Mowed Lawn ink to ink this up. And then I'm just going to smear my darkest green ink onto my surface. I'm going to add some water and make a paint, and then I'm going to pick it up with my paintbrush and just tap some splatters all over this grass. For my sky, I'm going to be using the new Stripes and Sprinkles Autumn paper, and there's this really beautiful golden yellow color. And so I have trimmed that to be 5.5 by 4.25, and I'm going to layer the grass that we just inked up into the scene. Then I'm going to be taking my bear and adding a bunch of foam squares to the back of the bear and layering him into the center of the card. Now, I love the idea of just having the bear on the card, and I also love the idea of having him hold something. Here, we're going to have him hold the honey jar, which is just adorable, but you could have him hold all sorts of things, like a big heart, I think would be so cute, or any other fun die cuts that you have in your stash, like a pumpkin, and you can make it a fall card. I just think it's so fun. And so we're going to pop up the arm over the jar so it really looks like he's holding onto the jar. Then we can layer one of his feet there, and then the other foot, I actually trimmed off part of it because I wanted it to tuck behind the honey jar so that it kind of looked like his foot was behind the jar. And so I just tucked that right underneath, and then we've got the other foot there. And I love the idea of using the black licorice cardstock as the backer for the foot. And then we can add this cute little honey dipper below. And then we're going to layer in our fun little flowers all around the bear to help set the scene. For the sentiment, we're going to use that same jam and honey sentiments, and there's a phrase that says, "You're so sweet," which goes along so well with this card, and I'm going to die cut that with a banner die. So we're going to line that up, we'll run it through the die cut machine, and now we have this perfect little banner to go right on the edge there. I'm going to adhere it down and then just trim off any of the extra. Now, at this point, I kind of wanted the card to have a border. So this card is going to be bigger than a standard size, but that's okay because I could put it in a 5x7 envelope and still use standard postage for it. So I added a nice tiny little 16th of an inch border around with some white cardstock, and then an 1/8 inch border around with some more of that stripes and sprinkles autumn paper. And I think that looks so cute. I love how Tammy does this in her cards, and I think it looks amazing with the two different patterns with that little strip of white in between. And now this card is all done. Isn't it so cute? I love that this bear can be used in two different ways. So here you can see him as the pop-up, and then there you can see him on the card front holding a honey jar or a pumpkin or even a snowflake. I mean, I love that it could be for any season or any occasion. Now that we've made a bear card without using the pop-up, we're going to make a ghost card without using the pop-up. And we are recreating a card by Audrey today that is so much fun. We've die cut the spiderweb backdrop there out of some black licorice cardstock, and I'm going to be using some pink inks to layer behind the spiderweb. I love that there's been so much fun pink colors in Halloween. I just think it's so bright and happy, and so we're going to be doing that for this card. I made sure to have my darkest pink ink kind of line up with the center of that spider web, which is offset a little bit, and then we blended it out lightest out towards the edges. And then here I'm just spraying some water onto the background and then patting it with a paper towel to pick up that water and create this really cool texture on it. Now next up we have our Big Hugs ghost, and I've gone ahead and die cut the ghost and also his arms there. And then I'm going to take a piece of black licorice cardstock and I'm just going to trim it so that it fits behind his eyes and mouth so we can add the details onto him that way. And then we can flip over the ghost and add some liquid glue on the back and layer this piece on there. Then, like we did for the bear, I want his arms to be facing in. So I'm going to layer the arm onto the ghost and then just flip it over and then trim off any of the excess. And so you can make the arms as long or short as you needed depending on what you're going to do for your card. But I'm going to have him hold a little pumpkin, and I think that's going to be really cute. And so we're going to line up one wing and then we'll do the other one. I keep calling them wings, but I guess they're arms. I don't know what the official name of these are, but they are adorable nonetheless. So now we've got both of these pieces trimmed down to the curve of the ghost. And then I'm going to add some foam squares to the kind of inside part of the arm and then some tape runner to the outside part so that it looks like the arm is kind of popped up. I think that's a really cool look. And so we'll do that for both of the arms of the ghost. And look how cute this is. Now the ghost comes with this super cute bow, and so we're going to be die cutting this out of some brand new sparkle cardstock. This is the brand new magenta color and it's so gorgeous. And so we're going to layer the little center piece onto the bow and layer the bow onto the ghost. And look at that, isn't that so cute? And I love how it's going to go so nicely with the pink background that we created. Now here, I'm gonna do that little fun like makeup blush technique on this ghost. So I picked up some guava ink, I brushed off most of the excess, and I'm just using whatever is left on my brush to give him some little rosy cheeks, and I just think this is so cute. Isn't that just adorable? Then we're going to add some liquid glue to the back of that spiderweb backdrop and then layer that onto that pink background. Doesn't that look so pretty? Then we can add our ghost into this background. And then I'm going to take out an oldie but a goodie. This is the Booyah stamp set, which I know is a stamp set that Audrey really loves. And there's a tiny little spider in this set. You could shop your stash for a die cut spider, a stamped spider, anything you might have would look really cute. And so I'm going to stamp that, and then I'm going to use my ruler to just draw a line to be the spider coming down from the spider web. Now here is that same little Build-A-Critter costumes that has that awesome little pumpkin in it. And so I went ahead and took that pumpkin and I added some color with my markers, and we're going to layer the pumpkin onto the stem piece. And this little pumpkin is going to be in the ghost's arms. Isn't that sweet? Now here we have our brand new All the Witch hats. I'm so excited about this one because it has these cute little hats that can go onto like all of your favorite stamped critters. But there's a really great Happy Halloween sentiment in it that I thought went really well with this card. So we're going to stamp that in some clear embossing ink on some black licorice cardstock. We'll sprinkle on some white heat embossing powder. We can heat it up with the heat tool and we'll have this nice bright shiny sentiment, and then we'll run that through the die cut machine with a sentiment banner die, and then I'm going to layer this right onto the card here, and then I can just trim off any of the excess. And for a little extra sparkle, I wanted to take out those really awesome tiny treasures. I love these purple stars so much, and I'm just going to layer them all around the ghost. I thought they went really nice with that sparkly bow, and so once I have them in a place I like to pick it up with my Pick Up Pokey tool and add a little bit of liquid glue to secure them. And then I'm going to take my white gel pen and just add 2 little dots in the rosy cheeks on the ghost. This is a standard size card base that's 5.5 by 4.25, which I can layer this whole panel on. And now this card is all done. Isn't that ghost so cute? cute. I absolutely love how you can use this ghost on its own, or you can also use it with the pop-up, which is so cool. I just love this little guy so much. And next up, we have some incredible cards by the design team. This one by Grace. As you open it up, look at the bear with all the hearts. Isn't that the perfect get well card? I also absolutely love this card by Tammy. The ghost holding the potion bottle is amazing. Jennifer brought our super cute bear into fall, and as you open it up, he's holding onto some fall leaves. Isn't that so sweet? And speaking of seasons, Mindy took our awesome bear and turned him into a polar bear by cutting him out of white cardstock, and it's so perfect for winter and Christmas. My son Miles made this awesome card, and as you open it up, you get this fun surprise of the bear holding onto his flower, and he even decorated the back of the card too. And then we have some awesome Halloween inspiration by Jennifer. I love the Too Cute to Spook, and as you open it up, he's holding onto the little boo sign. That's so much fun. And June's sewing theme is so incredible, and as you open it up, our little mice are around the bear, and I love how he's gonna move on the arms. That's so fun. This card by Lynette is so beautiful. I love this camping theme and how she created a really cute black bear. He is just adorable. And then here, Letitia created an awesome card with our ghost surrounded by pumpkins. I think this is so sweet. And speaking of pumpkins, Megan added a giant jack-o'-lantern with this super cute ghost in such a fun way. Here's the card by Tammy that inspired ours to make ours today. And here is the super cute bear who's ready for winter on this card. And then the card by Audrey that inspired us to make ours too. And then here we have this awesome card by Elise, and as you open it up, you get the fun surprise of a super cute bear inside, and I love that quilted backdrop as the perfect place for him to sit. This card by Karen is so much fun, and the surprise of the boo with the ghost is just amazing. So we cannot wait to see all of your big hug pop-ups, so make sure to share them with us. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Bye!